Hi, so in this video we'll cover the product analytics estimation kind of questions. So estimation could be of multiple kind. For example, business estimate the market size, revenue. It could be about capacity utilization, for example, how much server capacity, storage capacity your product will need. It could be also about usage and adoption, for example, how much users you will see in the next 1 year, or how would certain metric grow. So to answer these questions, here are 5 things that you should keep in mind. The first, ask clarifying questions. So it's important to understand what's the goal of this estimation and the scope of it. For example, is it just US-based product or a global product? Is the product that you are estimating for is only for a consumer segment, or also there is an enterprise segment? And let's say a simple example of pumpkin sales. So it's important to also take into account that a lot of pumpkin sales happen during the Halloween time. So is the decorative aspect also in the consideration, or it's out of it? So make sure that you ask these questions in the first part of the interview. The second aspect is to break down the problem into smaller pieces. And you can use various techniques to do that. Like one way is to do part-based breakdown. For example, for Eiffel Tower, I will consider the top portion, the middle portion, and the foundation. And for each piece, I'll estimate separately. The second way to break down problem could be segmentation based. For example, the rural consumption differs from the urban consumption. So you could break down between rural and urban and then do the estimation. The third way could be geography based. So let's say you first estimate for the US market, which is sort of 20% of global GDP. So doing a 5x of that could be helpful. There are other ways out there. You could, for example, also do this based on formula. For example, if I have to estimate revenue, then I estimate the price separately and the quantity separately. So that's the second technique, which is to break down the problem. The third thing is on when doing the actual estimation, you could use a couple of techniques. The first one is anchoring. So let's say you know a number. For example, you know number of iPhones sold in a year in US is 100 million. Then you could take a percentage of that for Android and do the estimate. So that's could be anchoring, like find a number that you know and then get to what you want. On a related note, you could use a proxy. For example, let's say I have to estimate total pumpkin produced or sold in a year. Now it's really hard for me to estimate the total land size and then hectare. But what I can do is estimate the total consumption of pumpkin. And then I'll assume some in the Halloween time and general consumption and get to a number. So that's the second technique. Third technique you could use is personal reference. For example, if I have to estimate the total number of vehicles that cross Golden Gate Bridge, I know that when I visited Golden Gate last time on a weekday, during the daytime, there were like 10 vehicles that I could see in the site within a matter of a second. So I could estimate how many vehicles that I would have crossed the bridge in a minute. And then because it was a daytime weekday, I would assume a similar number for during the day and a higher number in the weekend. And based on all of this, I'll reach to a final estimate. So these are the 3 techniques to reach to a final estimate. So that's the third tip. The fourth tip that I'll suggest is to do a sanity check. So once you do the calculation, make sure that you either use a proxy or order of magnitude calculation to reach and sort of validate that what you're doing, what you estimated is not completely wrong. For example, let's say I calculated the pumpkin consumption is 7 trillion. Now I know that the world population is only 7 billion. So that much consumption per person is not likely. So make sure these order of magnitude are sort of nearby and can help you avoid sort of blind spots in your calculation. And the fifth and the last one is to make sure that you take a step back after doing the estimation and say how you could be wrong. For example, in the case of pumpkin, maybe you did not consider certain types of pumpkin which is grown in the US or in China or India, or maybe certain kind of pumpkin that are grown in Antarctica and not used at all. Similarly, for the storage, there could be things like redundancy, stripping that you might not have considered. So make sure that you tell the interviewer that how you could be wrong. And if you had more time, what would you have done? You'd have researched about the market, maybe conducted some analysis. So make sure that you voice that out. So these are the 5 techniques, hopefully that help you in your next estimation question.